So if you've looked at the program, Patricia Brennan was to guide us today. She came down with the flu, so I'm stepping in. I'm clearly not Patricia Brennan. I know just about everybody here. I'm Melinda's husband, Jesse, and it's wonderful to see everybody here. A remarkable turnout given the weather, the adversity. Melinda throwing one last lesson in our path here. So I think we'll kick off the ceremony, and we're going to start with the lighting of the candles to remember Melinda. From Cole and Ellie. We have a couple of Melinda's good friends who are going to do some readings today, and the first is by Carrie Lewis McGraw, one of Melinda's oldest friends from growing up. Memories in the Heart.
Thanks. Memories in the Heart. Feel no guilt in laughter. She knows how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that she's not here to share. You cannot grieve forever. She would not want you to. She'd hope that you can carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the ways you showed you cared, the days you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let memories surround you. A word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day that brings her back as clearly as though she were still here and fills you with the feelings that she is always near. For if you keep these moments, you will never be apart, and she will live forever, locked safe within your heart. And as a nod to the mischievousness of Melinda and how she loved to get to her friends and families in funny, sticky situations, a quote from Shel Silverstein on friendship. I've discovered a way to stay friends forever. There's really nothing to it. I simply tell you what to do, and you do it. And of course we did. We followed her guidelines, which sometimes got us into more trouble than we'd ever expected. But in turn, she gave us the memories we'll cherish forever. I love you, Melinda.
So true. She did love to. She was an imp, and as a little girl and as a woman. So next we have Don Meinke, her adoring father, with some words of gratitude.
I have a couple of cheat sheets here. Bear with me while I dig them out of my pocket. Mel was loved by all that knew her. Your very best friends have been magnificent. Your love and support have been great beyond belief. You were here when it came and counted most. That is all of our dear friends. They were counted when they were here. Sorry. When so many of you appeared at the hospital, she rallied. And that was because you were here, and it brought her back to life. She was delighted, and you shared 2 days with her, which was beyond belief on your part. It was truly magic. She was so happy. You were the people that created Camelot with she and Jesse. Audrey and I will always remember you. Your friends were absolutely magnificent. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Don. Okay. So we have here another reading by one of Melinda's oldest friends, also from Darien here, Meg Dunn Escobosa, an excerpt from The Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke.
Melinda and I met at Darien High School. She was my very first roommate after graduating from college in Boston and then in San Francisco. I am grateful for the friendship we shared throughout all the most significant times, trials and triumphs in our lives. She was a confidant, a style guru, a source of so much humor and laughter and candor. She was mischievous, irreverent, and yet also interested in digging into the emotional parts of life and pushing her friends to face and do the hard stuff, have the difficult conversations, confront our fears, rise to the challenge. And this piece reflects some of that. I beg you to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, far into the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer.
Okay. You ready to go? We have one of the things that Melinda wanted to do was to make as many memories as possible, and one of them was through a video that she made kindly through one of the local, through Megan Harris and her film crew. And we're going to show just an excerpt of that right now.
My name is Melinda Meinke. I am 43, and we are in my living room in Wilton, Connecticut. I have my husband, Jesse Johnson, my daughter, Elliot Pearl Johnson, and my son, Cole McGuire Johnson. Jesse Johnson, the man of my dreams. You know, it's such, I love our beginning. I knew him when he was dating another woman. Her name was Sarah. And he lived in Mill Valley, and they had this very sort of grown-up life. I was not in the same space. I wanted to, play with my friends. I wanted to, maybe find a little innocent trouble. I was just at a different point in my life. When Jesse broke up with Sarah, he reached out to his dear friend Megan, trying to get back into the single life and get in touch with what the young kids were doing. And so, since I was with Megan all the time, Jesse ended up spending all this time with us. And we would sort of joke that we were the Tres Amigos. We were his wing women. In his cell phone, I was LB1 for Love Broker 1, and Megan was LB2 for Love Broker 2. And so we would go out together and kind of help him meet ladies. And then Jesse and I would hang out by ourselves sometimes, and I remember Megan thinking, well, wait a second, how come I wasn't invited? So anyhow, one evening, after lots of questions from the crowd, Jesse and I had our first kiss. And I remember him saying to me, I'd wanted this to happen for so long, and thinking, oh my God, this is so huge. I loved to, this is sort of a random story, but I loved to hide and explore small spaces. To illustrate that, when I was probably 4 or 5, and my sister was, 2-ish, she had gone down for a nap, and my mom was tired, and she said, all right, well, I'm gonna go take a nap. You keep yourself entertained. And so I crawled up on my mom's bed and kind of cozied up next to her and was gonna try to nap with her, but just couldn't get comfortable. And so I then decided to climb under her bed, which was probably 6 inches off the ground. And I remember sort of shimmying in there and just thinking, oh, this is kind of cozy. And next thing you know, I dozed off. Well, I don't know how many hours had passed. All I remember is looking over to the side and seeing 3 sets of feet. And so I shimmied over to the side, and I remember popping my head up and seeing these 3 faces look down at me and saying, where have you been? And I'm like, I've been here, I've been sleeping under the bed. What's the problem? And needless to say, the police officers and the firemen that were on site were a little displeased with my mother. My sister's name is Kara, and she is 2 years younger than me. When we were younger, I remember her always running after me and wanting to sort of be a part of what I was doing, and the big thing she would go running off to my mom and saying was, Mom, Melinda's excluding me. And now we're the dearest of friends, and she's a soulmate. She taught me so much about parts of who I am and who I was that I had no idea about. And she helped set me on a course and a journey in my life of exploration. So she really was the role model for me in helping me be who I am today.
Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. Lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.
I'll leave it to Melinda to be the one who pulls it all together for us. The one the rest of us can't keep it together. So there's a lot more to that. Megan and Christopher recorded, I think, nearly 5 hours of footage with her. So really something to be cherished. So next, we have Words of Remembrance by her sister, Kara Meinke.
When I think about the essence of who Melinda was, what made her so special and so loved, there are many things that come to mind. She was kind, funny, creative, smart, thoughtful, and beautiful. But more than all of those gifts, I think what made Melinda so special is that life really mattered to her. There was no neutral for Melinda. No waffling, no indecision, no ambivalence. Everything mattered to her, from the slight differences in shades of gray paint to the tone she used to greet the person bagging her groceries, to the exact ratio of cream to sugar in her coffee. At times, this quality of hers was maddening, as she was never shy about letting you know if her opinion did not align with yours. But more often than not, it was wonderful. It was what made Melinda the life force that so many of us found ourselves gravitating towards, like moths to the light of a flame. Being the hopelessly indecisive person that I am, I looked to Melinda for advice and guidance on everything. I felt lost if I didn't have her input on simple things like how long to cook the salmon, what shoes to wear to a wedding, what rug to buy for my son's nursery, but also things like how to tell my boss I was pregnant, how to talk to my husband after an argument, how to handle our crazy parents. She was my voice when I could not find my own, my inspiration when I had none, and my ever-present life consultant and confidant. I always felt like I was the only one who shared this special relationship with Melinda, but never was I more aware than over this past year that I wasn't unique, that Melinda gave this amazing gift to everyone who knew her. Not only to her close friends and family, but to people she barely knew, even to strangers. Every person mattered to her, was deserving of her attention, her kindness, and her respect. After Melinda was diagnosed with breast cancer a year ago, I sat in awe of the multitude of friends that rallied to her side to show their love, support, and gratitude for the gifts that Melinda brought to their lives. The sentiments that people shared about Melinda were universal, that she made them feel special, listened to, good about themselves, alive. She allowed others to bring their best selves forward. Around Melinda, you felt beautiful, witty, unique. She had the rare quality of making you feel like you mattered, and that's because you did matter to her. As she traveled through her cancer journey over the past year, everyone who had the pleasure to work with Melinda remarked on her unique and lovable spirit. Her doctors, nurses, therapists, Reiki healer, the list goes on. She made real connections, not just surface encounters. Melinda loved to dig right in and get to the stuff that mattered. When I accompanied her to her chemo treatments, I was amazed at her connection with her oncology nurses. Not only did she know them all by name, she knew where they grew up, how many children they had. It was obvious her nurses knew they mattered to her, as she mattered to them in return. If a nurse who didn't know her put her in the common room for one of her infusions, and one of her regular nurses caught wind of it, they would say, "Oh no, not our Melinda," and whisk her away to one of the private rooms with a view of the gardens below. During her final weeks of life, her cherished oncologist, Dr. Lowe, even talked about how unique Melinda was, how she got extraordinary treatment from her team of doctors because of how special she was. He summed it up by saying, "I was very fond of Melinda. I mean, really, who couldn't love Melinda?" She got special treatment because she gave special treatment. She gave love to all of those who crossed her path, and others were eager to reciprocate. Now that she is gone, we will all struggle with the immense void that she leaves behind, but I feel so lucky and so blessed that I had the time with her that I did. and that I now have all of you to help me carry forward her life in memories. Although she is no longer here, if I listen very close, I can still hear her voice urging me to open more, to soften, to laugh more, to choose the owl gray paint instead of the parchment white. She will always be my beacon and my guide, a part of the fabric of my very being that will never go away. I'd like to close with the lyrics to the song That's How Strong My Love Is by Otis Redding. Melinda sang this song so beautifully at her dear friend Megan Clark's wedding a few years ago, and I think it's more poignant now than ever. If I was the sun way up there, I'd go with love most everywhere. I'll be the moon when the sun goes down, just to let you know that I'm still around. That's how strong my love is. That's how strong my love is. I'll be the weeping willow drowning in my tears, and you can go swimming when you are here. I'll be the rainbow after the tears are gone, wrap you in my colors and keep you warm. That's how strong my love is. That's how strong my love is. I'll be the ocean so deep and wide, and catch all your tears whenever you cry. I'll be the breeze after the storm is gone, to dry your eyes and love you all warm. That's how strong my love is. That's how strong my love is.
Ready, Peter? Okay. So, Melinda, she always thought big in life, and one of the things that she had said recently was, wouldn't it be amazing if Martin Sexton came and sang Up to the Mountain at my remembrance? And for those of you who don't know, Martin Sexton is we couldn't get him. I mean, but that didn't stop Melinda from wanting it. And so the next best thing, and maybe even better, Kara and Pete Pettit.
I went up to the mountain because you asked me to. Up over the clouds to where the sky was blue. I could see all around me, everywhere. I could see all around me, everywhere. Sometimes I feel like I've never been nothing but tired, and I'll be working till the day I expire. Sometimes I lay me down, no more can I do. Then I go on again because you asked me to. Some days I look down, afraid I will fall, and though the sun shines, I see nothing at all. And then I hear your sweet voice, oh, oh, coming and go, coming and go, telling me softly, peaceful valley, just over the mountains. The peaceful valley, few come to know. I may never get there, ever in this lifetime. Oh, but sooner or later, it's there I will go. Oh, sooner or later, it's there I will go.
That was amazing. Okay. Megan, are you ready? Okay. So Megan introduced Melinda and I together. I grew up with Megan, and Melinda and she caused plenty of trouble, innocent trouble, out in San Francisco. And as Melinda said in the video, she brought us together. So, a reading. I am there.
Yes, I am LB2. Kind of had forgotten that we had coined ourselves that until that video, so that was a fun memory for me. Look for me when the tide is high and the gulls are wheeling overhead, when the autumn wind sweeps the cloudy sky, and one by one the leaves are shed. Look for me when the trees are bare and the stars are bright in the frosty sky, and when the morning mist hangs on the air and shorter days pass by. I am there where the river flows and salmon leap to a silver moon, where the insects hum and the tall grass grows and the sunlight warms the afternoon. I am there in the busy street. I take your hand in the city square, in the marketplace where people meet, in your quiet room. I am there. I am the love you cannot see. All I ask is look for me. I love you, Val.
So, I have the good fortune to be able to talk about Melinda's life, and many of the themes that we've heard today are contained in what I wanted to deliver. I'll start with a little bit of gratitude, echoing what Dawn said about all of the friends and family and every part of her life, my life. So many of you are here, and it just means everything to us and to Melinda. I should have introduced also some of the things that we have up here. We have a painting that was done by Melinda. Many of you knew bits and pieces of her life, but I'll try and take you through all of it here. So one way we definitely knew her was as an artist, both in the way she lived and the creations she put forth, whether it was a painting, a song. Many of you never probably got to hear her sing, but she and Kara shared that love and that talent. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the chronology, the things that she did in her life, and then add in a little bit of Melinda theater for color. And I'm relying on the things that I've heard over time, so I might not get it all correct, but it's how I heard her life told, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll start by saying that I realize it might not sound like you ended up at the right memorial when I tell you that I learned from Kara that when she was young, she was very shy and very soft-spoken. But she grew up right here in Darien with many of you. She changed, as we all do, and set out on her journey for growth, which she talked about being inspired by Kara. And we all counted ourselves lucky to be along for the ride, making memories with her. So over the last year, someone mentioned that Melinda said her mantra had become making memories, and I think it was her mantra. We all hope to have more time to make more memories with her, but as I wrote this, it occurred to me that I think that was her mantra all along. She was always making memories. And it was her intention to make memorable times a priority, and I see it as a common thread as I go through all the places that she's been in her years. She lived with great vitality. She was magnetic, pulling us closer together, and that created those lasting memories. She was also a seeker. Her Pat Brennan, who could not be here, also called her a life learner, and I think you'll see that as I go through some of the stories of her life. So if we walk along a little bit on Melinda's road and remember her life, she was born here in Darien, Connecticut, in Greenwich, September 10th, 1971, to Don and Audrey, who were great friends with the Lewis family. And it was during those years, the same year that Carrie was born, that her lasting friendship began as infants in Darien. So close were they that Carrie eventually named Melinda as her godmother to her son Will. In 1973, Kara was born into the family, and they moved to Blueberry Lane in Darien. And today, our kids, Cole and Ellie, still request a story and play on their devices. They still request a story every night at bedtime from our lives as kids. And over the 5 years that the Meinkes lived at Blueberry Lane, that definitely was featured. I'm sure there were other important milestones, but I remember two stories that she recounted. And the first was on that street she learned to ride her bike, with her father giving her one of the many literal and figurative starts in her life. She told the kids that Don still was holding the bike she thought Don was still holding the bike as usual, and of how she realized with excitement that she was now riding all on her own. Melinda could bring you right into the story and infuse you with the same excitement she felt over 30 years ago. The second story I recall was especially loved by the kids. It was about a large rock in the woods beside the house that she and Kara would play on and around for hours. Melinda captured the kids' imaginations, painting a picture as only she could with how they would play their games. But then she wrapped the story with how that rock was forever changed when a neighbor named Fred Lemon peed on it. So leave it to Melinda to turn such questionable content into a heartfelt story of their youth. But as always, she knew her audience, and as always, she did not disappoint. So in the spirit of making memories, a few months ago, we took a ride over to that house, and she pointed out what is today referred by Cole and Ellie as the Fred Lemon Rock. So next on her journey was a stop in Dallas, Texas from 1978 to 83, when Don's work brought them west. She was figure skating by then and recounted days of skating in a rink in the middle of a mall, with trips to swimming pools where women with large, powerful hair wore pantyhose under their bathing suits. you could see everything. So it was a far cry from Darien, but I know she felt in some way that it may have grounded her and Kara a bit, and that it added a quirky, worthwhile dimension to who she and Kara were becoming. For the following 17 years, it was back to Darien, where she truly grew up and ultimately graduated from Darien High School in 1990. And these years were harder for me to pin down, but I know they involved more figure skating, more dogs in their home as Audrey's love of canines grew, more fun frolicking in the pool and pond in their backyard, Don making turtle soup from a large giant snapping turtle which he caught in that same pond, babysitting for the Shermer family whom she loved, and the discovery that Melinda had real artistic talent under the tutelage of her teacher, Mr. Levine, and eventually a black Volkswagen GTI, which is a lot of car for most kids, but somehow fit Melinda, the Melinda I have in my mind. In general, it was just a whole lot of the right kind of important nonsense that makes up the memories of our lives. She was building loving bonds with a whole lot of people who are still her dearest friends today, and I can't name them all for fear of forgetting somebody. It was in these years that I understand she really grew from that shy person to the magnetic woman that I met years later. She did love to cause mischief and have fun, but I know that aspects of being a competitive figure skater built confidence and character that ultimately were tested heavily as she suffered through one of the biggest challenges in her life when she underwent painful scoliosis surgery and recovery at 15. And she told me that helped her to understand, maybe more than some at that age, that life can be fickle and fleeting, and that knowledge added depth of memories, and that knowledge added depth to the memories that she would make later on. Carrie Lewis sent me Melinda's yearbook quote. Thank you for doing that. And I think it sums up who she was at that time pretty well. Part graceful and nuanced, part crazy, and part quirky fun. It reads, "Only a moment of strength, of romance, of glamour, of youth, a flick of sunshine upon a strange shore, the time to remember, the time for a sigh, and goodbye, night goodbye." And the next line read, "Living crazy, that's the only way." And the last line read, "You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish." I had to look them all up. The first one was a quote from an author, Joseph Conrad. The second was a phrase from Michael Jackson's "Off the Wall." And the third was an album by REO Speedwagon. I think. Then came Syracuse University and another whole host of stories, which I think we're going to have to retrieve from the other alumni that are here, partly because I couldn't keep up with them, and I also don't want to give Cole and Ellie any ideas. I know it was a wonderful time filled with wonderful friends, many of who are here today, in a time where I think she really felt pride in growing as an artist, but also where she said in hindsight she felt a bit lost and started to think about that searching the next part of her life. She graduated in 1994 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Illustration. And a year or so, and the next years following involved backpacking in Europe with her friend Johanna, a year or so in Boston working on a whale watching boat. And this was also a favorite story of Cole and Ellie's because it involved vomit and whales, but no whale vomit. Some work as a professional illustrator, but the next few years were restless for Melinda, and she needed a change. And when Kara graduated from UVM, she as Melinda said in her video, she influenced Melinda to take action and begin to make the changes which were more of an intention in her life. Kara convinced them to move west, or maybe you guys decided together, I don't know. But each in their own vehicle, they sped across the country, sleeping in Kara's truck bed with the cap on top. They landed in California. She bounced between LA and San Francisco on friends' couches, where Melinda, and I believe Melinda finally settled in San Francisco after meeting up with Jack Mahoney, where she began to work at the same beverage marketing company as him, which I believe he helped her get the job. Is that true, Jack? Okay, good. She had access to a Black Star beer party bus, complete with sound system and onboard kegs of beer, and she would welcome friends at the airport in this ride. And she did promotions at all kinds of bars and restaurants, and so she got to know San Francisco very well. And I think short of a job where you have a badge and a gun, it couldn't have been much more fun for a 20-something. And as an aside, when I was out in San Francisco, moving there myself, one of my first, I think I was looking for an apartment, and I was in a bar, and a young, cute woman came up to me and said, "Can I buy you a beer?" And I was thinking, this couldn't, this couldn't be going better. And we get up to the bar, and the woman says, "Frank, can we have two Black Star beers? And have you heard about Black Star beer?" And it was not Melinda, but I got an idea of what she was doing as a job, and I could see her being fantastic at it. Over the next 10 years in San Francisco, Melinda made more memories. She worked as a photographer's studio manager for Kevin Irby, then for Fred S. Scott, who represented photographers, and ultimately she continued to make a living allied to the fine arts by working as an art buyer in different advertising agencies. I thought that I had a decent aesthetic. I was an art student in college, but Melinda had a sense that made it effortless, and I could see her working with the creative teams and finding just the right pictures, the right artists, and she knew how to take it to another level. The difference between good and great was clear with her. She was loved by all who worked with her, and and I think she made doing the job that much easier and more rewarding. If you can imagine 12-hour days on maddeningly detailed photo shoots with cranky clients, you can see what a treasure it would be to have Melinda there to get the job done and to make it a great time. So it was San Francisco that I first met Melinda through my good friend Megan Clark, now Megan Bogardus. She was out of my league, dressed as a cowgirl at a Halloween party, holding court and leading the fun. And as she said in her video, I was living a sedate suburban life, dating another woman, and I wasn't even on her radar. But she left an impression on me, and it wasn't until 1998 that we finally crossed the line between friends and lovers. I moved back into San Francisco with my 3 other roommates, and Megan pulled me into Melinda's orbit. I changed jobs, and I was ripe for other personal changes as well. And also, as she said in her video, she loved our beginning, and I do too. We were friends for 9 months, where she and Megan were largely unsuccessful in finding me any dates. It's true, or maybe I was unsuccessful on closing. I don't know, but she became single during that period as well, and I knew that I loved the person I was getting to know. Brash, sweet, gracious, creative, thoughtful, and always searching out the juicy stuff of life, never boring. We told ourselves that it was still just friendship until it was clear that it wasn't. In the early 2000s, we were inseparable, and I saw her deep friendships yield yet more memories. There's so much to say about those years, brilliant times with Meg Dunn and Mel involved in her engagement and her wedding to Mark. Seeing Melinda sing at open mics around town, she would just get up. She convinced, actually on my birthday, she convinced a band at the Blue Lamp to let her sing Midnight Rider, and she did. It was great. Fearless and beautiful, playing with Megan Clark at her great place in the Presidio, which brought us so many memories, and culminating with Melinda singing at her wedding to Jason Bogardus. And a lot of time spent in Melinda's wonderful apartment with her roommates in Nob Hill, Johanna, Meg, Hiba Dasuki, and my great college friend Becky. In 2003, we moved in together. We took a month to be apart and sort of test ourselves, and it was during this whole period that I realized she was really a seeker and trying to improve herself, understand herself, and taking mindfulness courses, and she, I think, became aware of a lot more of what was shaping her in her life, and as she said, we all have baggage. We just need to make sure it's labeled before we can really be with someone. So I could see that she was seeking, not for a way to save our relationship, but for a way to make it the best that she could for herself and for a better us. And I was so impressed that I started my own search for self-understanding and labeling my own baggage. We must have been one of the only couples out there who went to couples therapy before getting married because things were going a little too well. She just wanted to confirm that it was right. But it must have worked because we were engaged and then married in a wonderful ceremony in Lyme, Connecticut on June 11th, 2005. So with some trepidation, we left San Francisco in 2006 to be closer to our families as we contemplated starting our own. We went to New York City, where Melinda became pregnant with our son, Cole. And we did things the hard way, creating memories by buying our first home, having our first baby, and changing jobs all at the same time in 2007. But we were learning all the while and making more of those memories. Torrance Robinson, who is here, and Laurel lent us their apartment because we couldn't come back to our own. And we have all these photos of just baby stuff exploding all over their apartment. I had to buy a thermometer. I bought 5 of them because I didn't know which one to get for a newborn. But so we had wonderful memories that included support from everybody in our lives. And while our floors were being refinished, we lived with Lauren and James, who had a baby at the same time, Finn, in a 2-bedroom apartment for almost a week, I think. And it was just chaos, absolute chaos. Just figuring it out ourselves. So I don't think I can recount all of the memories, but I will say that Melinda took 6 months off of work when Cole was born and when Ellie was born, just because I know that she wanted to really remember everything and to be fully present for them, to learn and to experience again, and for herself and for the kids. She often said that some of the best memories were simple. So the playground, Prospect Park in Brooklyn, the carousel, our friends, and our sitter, Karen. To further create more memories, she started a periodic ladies' night out, which I cannot remember the name of. I don't know if anybody here from Brooklyn does remember, but it was something like, I don't know what it was, but it had a catchy name, and she was always trying to create more friends wherever she went. And I think she missed her truly close friends from San Francisco. And what I learned from Melinda is that she would always do something about it. She wouldn't just complain. So when we moved to Wilton, Connecticut in search of a yard, better schools, and more of the experience we had when we grew up, as well as our dream home, which would become Melinda's latest canvas, soon she was diagnosed with the disease which would take her from us. She continued to make friends and memories, now with even more abandon. She had a wigging out party when she lost her hair with many of her new friends and old. Always so grateful for the warm welcome she received by these wonderful new friends and how our old ones rallied around us. And as Don mentioned, I don't think there could have been a better set of memories than the last days in the hospital, where I don't know where she got the strength. I'm sure it was from everyone who came to see her, but she stayed up until 1 in the morning, eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream with whoever would stay with her, and many did. So what was constant throughout was that we all knew Melinda as a creative person who loved to shape her world for the better, as a talented athlete, a singer, a compassionate, kind, and brilliant mother to our 7-year-old son Cole and our 5-year-old daughter Ellie. As a loving force for her sister Kara and her husband Jesper and nephew Bridger, an adoring daughter to her parents Don and Audrey, and to my family as well. And there are no fitting words I could find to describe how deeply happy I am that she agreed to be my wife and partner. So we all made memories with her, and we will carry those as gifts, keeping her in our hearts forever. And I will continue to seek and to change and endeavor to grow as she did. And to talk more about the things that matter with friends and strangers who will become friends. And that's how I'll remember Melinda. So, we would have normally had someone else to wrap up this ceremony. But since Melinda gave me that challenge, I will rise to it. I did call Pat Brennan and ask her what she was thinking about saying, and she said that really the messages of each of the things that were here today, as they should be, spoke to who Melinda was and leave us a lesson that we can take with us. That she loved music, that her children are very, very important to us, and the love of her children. The memories and the impish nature that Carrie talked about, the memories that Melinda would leave behind, the gratitude Melinda always talked about with her. And I neglected to say Patricia was Melinda's therapist, and so she spent a lot of time talking with her about what really mattered to her. And gratitude was often included in there, she said. The video, Melinda had to have her stamp on it, and I'm glad that we were able to do that, thanks to Megan and to Christopher. Kara's words about her and the meaning that she placed in life and people. And then I think a reminder of that she will always be there, the featuring of nature, of looking up and looking onward. And these were all the things that she would, I think, want all of us to take and to remember. So we're going to have a final performance, Amazing Grace, by Peter Pettit.